All right, guys. So with other states, Republican states in particular, following Ron DeSantis' footsteps in Florida and trying to pass their own version of their parental rights and education bill that has been incorrectly dubbed the Don't Say Gay bill by the left, leftists are continuing to freak out and break down, right? They're actually getting even more crazy about it because they know that, again, more states are going to pass this stuff. Because Ron DeSantis, I mean, let's be honest with you. I mean, he's the leader of the Republican Party from a legislation standpoint. Nobody in the Republican Party, period, has a better sense of where the people are at, especially when it comes to the culture war, than Ron DeSantis. I mean, the guy just simply seems to be one with the people when it comes to stuff. He understands what issues people care about, and he takes immediate action to try to address those issues. And that is why the guy is so popular. And I strongly believe that, his popularity continue to increase in the things he's continuing to do. The guy is a strong 2024 contender. He really is, okay, if he decides to run. And because he is the governor of what has historically been a swing state, a purple state of Florida, which now probably is a slightly red state due to how popular Ron DeSantis is, he probably is the GOP's best option in 2024 from an electability standpoint. So with that being said, again, the bill that Ron DeSantis signed in Florida is simply a bill that prohibits the in-depth discussion of sexual orientation and gender identity between teachers and kindergartners through third graders. That is the part of the bill that is freaking out the left so much for whatever reason, as they have extrapolated all kinds of negative consequences that are going to come from this bill that are simply made up, okay? That's just what it is, okay? And the latest major Democratic figure to melt down over this bill passing, not just in Florida, but these other states getting ready to pass their own version of this bill, is White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, who did an interview on a podcast recently in which she actually breaks down in tears over the harm that this bill is going to cause to LGBTQ kids. Take a listen.
Let's talk about some of these anti-LGBTQIA and trans bills that are moving through state houses now. You were in the Obama administration when the court legalized same-sex marriage, and I remember that day that the White House was rainbow-colored. And now we're at this place where there's basically a backlash. I'm curious, from where you sit, how do you make sense of what's happening? Is this sort of a predictable backlash to change, or is this an organized political attempt to create a wedge issue ahead of the midterms in the 2024 campaign, sort of like the way gay marriage was weaponized in 2004?
Ding, ding, ding. I can't talk. I have to be careful about politics because of the Hatch Act police that are waiting outside in the bushes somewhere. But what I will say is that, one, the day that gay marriage was affirmed by the Supreme Court was my favorite day in the White House under President Obama. I was 8 months pregnant, so I was also kind of emotional, and I don't know. But what I will say is the political games and harsh and cruel attempts at laws that we're seeing in some states like Florida, that is not a reflection of the country moving to oppose LGBTQ plus communities. That is not what we see in data. That is not factual, and that is not where things stand. This is a political wedge issue and an attempt to win a culture war. And they're doing that in a way that is harsh and cruel to a community of kids, especially. I'm like going to get emotional about this issue because it's horrible. But it's like kids who are bullied, and like all these leaders are taking steps to hurt them and hurt their lives and hurt their families. And you look at some of these laws in these states, and it is going after parents who are in loving relationships who have kids. It's completely outrageous. Sorry. This is an issue that makes me completely crazy, but it is an issue that is a political wedge issue. It is not a reflection of where the country is. And what people should understand, and what we're talking about here in Florida, for example, okay, I'm going to pull my stuff together now, is that, families, if you have a kid in a classroom, and I have a kindergartner, right? I can imagine her saying, my friend has two moms, my friend has two dads. And the teacher in her classroom, I would hope, would say, that's wonderful. They're loving parents, and you have a mom and a dad. This is penalizing teachers and educators. I mean, there are so many layers of this that are outrageous, and I hope people continue to educate themselves on this, because it is a bad side of politics, is what I will say. And I will not cry again during this interview, I promise you.
You are human.
This is an issue that makes me very crazy.
And this is what it is when people care. We want people who care.
Again, I find it amazing how Jen Psaki has all this time to do all these interviews and podcasts while still being the White House press secretary. I mean, that's kind of what happens when you're on your way out the door, right? When you're just like, you know what? I'm about to go make millions of dollars working at MSNBC, where nobody's going to watch my show. So it is what it is. But again, it's just pathetic, man. I mean, her breaking down in tears over something that, in fact, is not going to be harmful to kids. If I was this podcaster, I would have asked Jen Psaki, what exactly in this bill is going to be harmful to LGBTQ kids, right? What exactly is going to be harmful to them? What exactly is harmful? Is it the part where teachers aren't allowed to have in-depth discussions with kindergartners about sexual orientation and gender identity? Okay, is that the part that's harmful to them? Is it harmful for kids not to have conversations with their teachers about how their teachers don't like the genitalia that they was born with, or conversations with their teacher about who their teacher likes to sleep with? That's harmful to kids. Again, I guarantee you, if pressed on that question, she would not be able to give an answer in regards to what exactly is harmful, right? What is harmful to parents? Please elaborate on that, Jen Psaki. Is it part of the bill that promotes parents having more transparency about what forms and information and documents their children are receiving in school? Is that the part of the bill that's harmful to parents? Which that's actually what most of the bill is. Most of the bill is about transparency, hence why they named it parental rights in education, okay? Because it's about parental rights and parents having more transparency in regards to what's going on in their kids' school. I'm trying to really figure out what part of the bill is harming people. Because if you guys want to talk about harming kids and parents, I would argue that the Democrat Party, especially during the middle of the pandemic, has been the most harmful to children, right? With their policies, specifically in regards to shutting down schools and not allowing in-person learning, which has made it harder for a lot of kids to learn because they're not able to get the one-on-one help that they need from their teachers and the in-person instruction they need from their teachers to learn, okay? It has put a whole lot of kids behind. And you know the kids that have been affected the most by that? It's the so-called minority kids that Democrats claim they love so much. Those kids and those parents are the ones that have been harmed the most by Democrats' policies during the pandemic. Not to mention all the other policies that the Democrats have implemented for kids during the pandemic that may or may not have contributed to stunting these kids' emotional and social development. So again, if you want to talk about policies that are harmful to kids, we can go there, right? Because the Democrat Party has plenty of them. And then Jen Psaki wants to talk about how, oh, well, this is a political wedge issue, right? This is a divisive issue. That's what it means. A wedge issue is an issue that is supposed to be controversial, okay, and divisive, right? It's evenly split, okay, among the populace, okay? That's what it means. And I'm like, no, Jen, I don't think this is a wedge issue. I think this is an issue that most people can agree on. In fact, the data actually supports the idea that this bill is not very divisive at all, okay? Because when Americans are actually presented with the text of the bill and are said, hey, this is what the bill actually says, not the propaganda they're fed from the Democrat Party and the mainstream liberal media, according to the Public Opinion Strategies poll, 61% of people say they support the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, with only 26% being opposed, okay? That's almost 2/3 of America. And then when you break it down even more, it gets even worse for Jen Psaki, right? As Democrat voters support the bill, 55% to 29% opposing it. You have parents, 67% support, 24% opposed. Biden voters, 53% support to 30% opposed. And respondents that say they know somebody that's LGBTQ, 61% support to 28% opposed, right? So again, I'm trying to figure out where's the divisiveness here? Because according to most polls, not just this one, the American people seem to be on board with this issue, especially when they're told what the bill actually says, like the part about how it basically prohibits teachers from having conversations about sexual orientation and gender identity with kindergartners through third graders. When they're actually told that that's what it says and not that it bans the use of the word gay, they're like, oh, no, that actually makes sense. That's actually common sense. I don't want kindergartners talking to their kids about sex, right? That's what most reasonable people agree with. But again, the Democrat Party is not a reasonable party. They don't have reasonable people. So with that being said, let's actually listen to the reasonable people of Florida tell us about how they feel about the bill. Take a look.
They're moving to mimic Florida's parental rights laws, banning discussions of sexual orientation and gender in the classroom from kindergarten to third grade. I got the chance to talk with locals in the Sunshine State about what they really think of Governor DeSantis' bill. Take a listen. This Florida parental rights law, is it a good idea or bad idea?
The parental rights law is a good idea, absolutely a good idea. Why would anyone want to teach kindergartners or third graders anything about sex?
I really think that everything should stay out of the schools and with the parents.
I'm old school, I think. So I think they should be just taught regular things at school, like, math, English, science.
Kindergarten through third grade, should you really be focused on that at that age?
My opinion, no. No, that's a bit premature.
So you think K through 3 is an okay time frame?
I do. I'm a former teacher, so I just feel it is offensive to restrict the teacher's ability to talk about it.
What do you make about the hullabaloo? Everybody's sort of saying, Florida's anti-gay. Is this an anti-gay state?
Not my perception.
So you don't know a lot of people in your circle that think we need to teach kindergartners about sex?
I know nobody who thinks that. You know what? Let children be children. Let them figure it out when they get old enough, really.
Why do you think Disney is forming a position on this that is so strong and potentially risking their customers?
I think they think that they're doing the right thing. I think they think that they're trying to please most people, but I don't think most people really want that to happen.
I don't think they should be wading into politics. I think they're kind of forced to react, and that's a tough position to be in.
Why are certain people in this state fighting so hard to teach kindergartners about the birds and the bees?
I honestly don't know. I really, really don't understand that line of thinking at all.
Are parents under attack?
In some ways, I think yes. I think we see it across school boards. You don't think they should have any decisions on what they teach, how they teach, and when they teach it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really knows why in the world the Democrats are so gung-ho about kids learning about sex, okay? I really don't get it. I really don't understand it. But who knows? I mean, maybe they want the kids to be woke LGBTQ activists. Maybe that's just what they want. I just find it fascinating how Jen Psaki can cry all these tears for these kids that are being harmed, okay, by this bill. When the Democrats, again, with their policies during the pandemic have harmed a whole lot of children in regards to them not being able to learn the way they should be able to learn in the classroom. And furthermore, on top of that, Jen Psaki wasn't crying these tears for those parents that were being targeted, okay, by these school boards and potentially being targets of the FBI. Okay, she wasn't crying tears for those parents, but she's crying tears for hypothetical situations that really don't happen all that often. And if they do happen, no teacher is getting fired because a kid says, hey, I have 2 moms or I have 2 dads. Okay, and the teacher acknowledges that and says, hey, that's great, blah, blah, blah. No teacher is getting fired for that, okay? No teacher's losing their job because of that. No teacher's getting sued over that, okay? Now, if a teacher wants to sit down and have an in-depth conversation about it and talk about how, oh, yeah, having 2 moms is great, let's talk about what being lesbian means. Yeah, teacher might get in trouble for that, but the situations that the Democrats are presenting that they're so afraid of, there's nothing to be concerned about, right? There's nothing to be concerned about at all, okay? It's really fear-mongering at its max over something that is truly a non-issue for teachers that are simply doing their jobs, okay? For teachers that are not trying to go overboard with the stuff, it's not an issue. It's not anything they ever have to worry about. But again, the Democrats, for whatever reason, they want to get behind this issue, an issue that is clearly a losing issue going into the midterms in which they're basically going to get blown out if nothing changes. But hey, it is what it is. I'm glad that they've come out and shown themselves for who they really are and what they actually support. I really am. So, Jen Psaki, keep crying those sweet tears. Keep crying those sweet tears over kindergartners learning about sex, okay? I'm pretty sure that's going to help the Democrats out come the midterms in 2024. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.